Hi guys, it's Katrina. The topic I'm going to discuss today is about mindful consumption. And this video is made specifically for the students at the LightSong School of Shamanic Studies and Energy Medicine because our telepathic practicum is in just a couple of days. But if I've directed you to this video, it's because mindful consumption and imbuing food is something that I think is a great skill to have in your everyday life anyway. But it's an integral skill for those of us going to the telepathic practicum to support the questers. And in supporting the questers, we not only help them process their emotions and thoughts and the things that they're dealing with in their quest via, in this case, the sacred fire, but we also nourish them with the things that they need telepathically. And so in order to do that, we need to be able to really discern and pay attention and be brought back to the moment and be able to consume mindfully and be able to bless what it is that we're sending. Whether that is the feeling of a peanut butter and banana sandwich because they're hungry, or the feeling of being quenched with nice cold water because they're thirsty, or the feeling of a cozy blanket because they're cold, or even just the feeling of joy and laughter of being around people because they're alone. So we need to be able to be aware of everything that we are consuming because we are feeding it directly to the questers. Now, if you are not here as a student of LightSong, and this is still a really good skill to have, your intention might not be to be in support of the questers, but your intention specifically for imbuing food might be something else. You know, you might want to be feeding your family with nourishment and love. You may want to be providing something either to your family or yourself, but in any case, it's still mindful consumption, and being able to imbue and bless the things that you're consuming is a really important skill to have. So I'm just going to jump right in. The first step, like most things in life, the first step is intention. That is where you start everything, is having an intention. Because if you don't know where you're going, how are you going to get there? And why would you want to go? Like, if you don't know where. So that's an incredibly important step to anything, being mindful about anything in general. So intention is really important. Secondly, the next step, I'm going to go over the energetic side of things, and then I will go into like physical ways to do these steps. So the second step is checking in and being present. That's like the part that you think of when you think about being mindful, is you have set your intention, and now as you're carrying things out, as you're doing your tasks, you are checking in and being very present and being very in the moment and feeling the sacredness of that, because that is what's going to get you into alignment with your intention and able to receive the next step or the next direction of your course. And I want to speak a little bit about the next step. I want to touch a little bit about planning. So I think that we've all experienced in our lives, especially in 2020, that you can make a plan for something, and it doesn't mean that it's going to happen according to plan. And that is because planned action is not what brings things into being. Planned action is not what makes things happen. The energetic foundation underneath is what makes any physical manifestation. That's the important part to be in alignment and clear about, is the energetic foundations beneath what you're doing. And that's even in very left-brained kind of logical things that you would think of. Like, I know a lot of construction workers and architects actually, and you would think that like building cities or skyscrapers would be like, oh, no, that's all about like exact planning and hard work. And I can tell you that even those plans, they change. Like, things are changing all the time. Things don't go according to plan. And even if they did, That's only one way that things happen. And so, don't get me wrong. I like planning. I'm a person who enjoys a plan. I like to make a plan. But the thing that I want to touch on about planning is that it's not the part of being present. It's not the part of creating a sacred moment. I personally think that planning, what I use planning for is, in making a plan, that is just my statement of intention. When I make a plan, that's just me making a statement of intention for what I would like to happen. And then I like to sit back and be open to Spirit having a better way than my plan. And Spirit usually has a better way than my plan because they just can see more. They're in a place where they can see more than we can. And so that's a distinction that I want to make. In making a plan, I consider to be a part of the intention-making process and not a part of being in the now. So there are a lot of examples, though, in the world of people being present, being mindful. It's called a lot of different things in a lot of different parts of the world. Zen, mindfulness. When I was growing up, it was called being in a constant state of prayer at the church that I went to. And so us living in our futures, us living in our plans is not being present. That, I believe, is what brings on the feeling of it being labor, of it being like hard work, because when things aren't going according to the future, instead of what's happening now, that's what makes it feel like labor. And for the practicum, traditionally the kitchen has been labeled like a labor-intensive direction. And I would say that when you're in the kitchen and you're really in the zone and you're being present and checking in and creating sacred moments, it doesn't feel like a labor. It's just being in and creating this beautiful moment. So like a couple of examples that I could give you of checking in, because this is the first part after intention of being in the mode of mindful consuming, is being present in what you are doing right now and knowing that it correlates to the intention, even if it's not according to the plan that you had for how it was going to happen. It's still a part of the intention being carried out. So a couple of examples could be that very loving grandmother, like an abuelita, picking through the beans, ready to like cook some beautiful food for her grandbabies. Like that is her intention, is to feed her family with love. Or the devotees of a temple, like scrubbing the floors of the temple with a toothbrush in devotion to their gods or gurus. And they aren't doing these tasks as like to get them done. They're not doing them because they just need to be done. They're doing them in the moment as an act of service to what they consider to be sacred. And the love of what they consider to be sacred while they're doing what they're doing, that's the vibration that they are putting into what they're doing. So that is actually what's making the food healing or making the temple feel sacred, is this in the moment creation, putting that vibration of sacredness into what you're doing. And that's the last step, is imbuing or blessing. It's done in mindfulness and in presence, and you see it all over the world. Sometimes it's people saying grace. They bless their food with that. Sometimes it's people getting together to make food, and they're like laughing and hugging and like just being together. So I used to live in a Mexican household, and people, we had the saying, estoy como agua para chocolate, which means like I'm like water for hot chocolate. And people would usually say that when they were like in a bad mood, and that would mean like, oh, I'm in a bad mood, I can't cook, the food wouldn't be any good. And I mean, that's like a real thing. So when you say that you're like the water for hot chocolate, you're an ingredient to the food. You can't make hot chocolate with nasty water, even though water is like this programmable thing that it doesn't taste like anything. Um, it's it's an ingredient of something that you have to make, and even though it's clear, it's you would think that it doesn't add any taste or anything. You can't make hot chocolate with nasty water. And when we were doing the level 1 class with Jan years ago, I thought, when she started talking about the work with Dr. Emoto and the experiments with the water crystals, this made so much sense to me. I was like, yeah, I mean, our bodies are 60% water or however much, and it makes us up. So what we program that water with is what we're carrying around. And if we are cooking with that, we're literally like a medicinal ingredient to the food. So it's something to keep in mind. So that's the last part, is imbuing and blessing. And there are lots of ways that you can do that. I'm going to show you now like a physical way to do it, by doing just like a really easy breakfast prep. So I have like 5 mason jars, and I have some quick oats, like just the normal like rolled oats, not like microwave ones or steel cut ones, just normal flat oats, and some chia seeds and fruit and honey. And like all you do, and milk. I'm using oat milk, but you can use any milk you want. You can even use water. So you just, I'll put the, in the description, I'll put the recipe, but it's like really, really super, super easy. So while I'm doing this, I'm just going to explain the steps. So I really recommend, with the first step, intention, being in this place of clarity and centeredness and making an intention. That is how everything starts. I recommend having a ritual of any kind of kitchen work. Like when you go into the kitchen, do some kind of ritual that brings you into the moment. And that's my baby. So any kind of ritual that brings you into the moment, into that place of having a clear intention. And this could be anything from having a touchstone on your counter and being able to touch the stone and clear your energy, and maybe you whisper your intention to the stone of, while you're cooking, my intention is to be in a place of clarity and sacredness so I can imbue this food with nourishment and love for my family. Something like that. If you are into like oracle cards, you could come in and, you know, ring a bell to clear the air and pull an oracle card to meditate on while you're cooking. Me personally, I like to make smudge sticks. So I usually use my own smudge sticks, which I'm going to do right now to show you. And then I just say my intention, usually out loud, but you can say it in your mind too. So the first step, starting from a place of centeredness and clarity and intention. So I use this for the clarity. This just puts me in a place of being clear. Right. And so I'm setting the intention to be here now, to be centered. In this moment in time, I'm casting a circle around myself, a circle of being present, and a circle of honoring the medicine of the Southwest, and finding joy and sacredness in every moment that I'm in the kitchen preparing food. And my intention is that while I'm preparing this, I'm making this food imbued with the medicine of the story that I'm going to tell you, which will further the spiritual nourishment of this food and whoever's watching this, and any food that they make or create for someone else from now on. And I'm just going to seal it. You don't have to do it like that, but it just feels final for me that way. All right, so I'm going to take these mason jars and put in the oats. And I like to, with every ingredient, take that opportunity to be present with the ingredient. And so I scoop the oats, and I think about how, like, sweet and the texture of them, I just feel like they have a really gentle presence about them. And when I'm looking at the oats, I'm thinking, like, how grateful I am that I have this food to prepare. I'm thinking of how grateful I am that my friend brought these oats for me. And I'm thinking just how grateful I am to have these oats and what nourishment they provide, and that they taste so good, and that they're sweet, and that they were a gift from someone, so they have, like, even more good energy in them. And I'm just, like, concentrating on being with these oats because they are beautiful and I'm grateful for them. So I put them into the jar, and I'm just, like, connecting with them. And then I move on to the chia seeds. So I'll sprinkle the chia seeds in there. And I just notice how cute and little they are, and how amazing it is that, like, a teeny tiny seed contains, like, all the ingredients for life. And I'm putting them in there, and I'm really grateful that they have offered themselves to me and my nourishment. And I'm just filling it with gratitude. And I do this with each ingredient. As I'm preparing it, I just think, like, man, I'm grateful that this ingredient is here for me. I'm grateful for the way it smells. I'm grateful that, like, this strawberry is so sweet, and, like, that food is just, like, so enjoyable to eat. I'm just, like, thinking all these things about being just grateful and connecting with the ingredient and seeing, like, its sacredness, and being with me and being grateful that that it is my food. And another thing that helps is sometimes if I am having trouble thinking of things to be grateful for, I just kind of breathe in the gratitude from the world around me, and how beautiful everything is, and how I can be in this moment, and how privileged I am in so many ways, and how comfortable my life is, and how I have enough to eat. And then, like, it just snowballs into more and more things to be grateful for. And I just breathe in the gratitude of the world around me, and I breathe out appreciation for that gratitude into the food. Super easy. And so I am mixing each ingredient separately into the mason jars, and just thinking about, like, oh, this is nice. It's nice to connect with these ingredients. I'm super grateful. And I was going to tell you a different story, but I'm going to tell you a story about the other day. Spirit's just saying, no, not that one, this one. So the other day I had this pineapple that I got from the store, and I waited a little bit too long to cut it up, and I started cutting it up, and it was, like, all brown and a little tiny bit, like, mushy, and I was just thinking, oh man, I waited too long to eat this pineapple. But then I was like, you know what? I'm still grateful that this pineapple was even here. Like, I can probably still eat it, even if I have to put it in a smoothie. And then I just thought, you know what? I need to be really present with this pineapple. And so I pick up the pineapple, and I hold it in my hands, and I start feeling, like, all this, like, sparkly gratitude. I start imagining, like, this gratitude and Reiki and healing energy, like, going through my hands, not even really on purpose, just because I'm, like, grateful for this pineapple. And I'm thinking, like, man, pineapples are great. I mean, I love pineapples. Like, a good pineapple that's, like, sweet, maybe a little tart, but, like, nice and sweet, and it just like fills your mouth with saliva because it's so delicious and juicy. And I was thinking, man, I love a good pineapple. And then when I was thinking these things about how much I love pineapples, I started smelling this pineapple as if it was just like coming to life. I started smelling it, and it smelled so sweet, and I was like, oh, I can't wait to eat this. It's so delicious and sparkly. And I was like, man, you came a long way. I live in Oregon, so I know that you weren't grown, down the street. And I was like, you came all this way for me to eat you. And I'm so grateful that you're going to nourish me in this way. And so I spent like a minute. I know it was not more than 2 minutes, just appreciating this pineapple, smelling it, imagining like how a good pineapple tastes and how grateful I am to be able to get like food from different places. And after a minute of appreciating this pineapple, I looked at it, I started chopping it up, and I tasted some of it, and it was great. It was not too ripe. It was sweet and perfect and juicy, and I feel like even a little firmer than when I was cutting it. Like, it got firmer, and I was like, we healed together. We healed together, didn't we? And my gratitude brought this pineapple back into the realm of being consumed and nourishing me. So, yeah. And that's like the gist of it. And so these little mason jars of oats and chia seeds, and I put chocolate chips in this one. Super easy. Like, I mean, I was done with them before I was done with the story, I think. It took so little time. It wasn't hard. And I want to say that imbuing food or blessing food, it doesn't have to be like an all day, like simmering for hours, sweating over your cauldron kind of thing. It doesn't have to be like that to be full of nourishment. It doesn't have to be labor. It can just be love. You can turn something mundane into something mystical just by being in it, and connecting to that sacred moment. You don't have to be in a labor of love. You just have to be in love. All right. So that's basically all I wanted to share with you about mindful consumption. Is it starts with intention and having faith in your intention, knowing that your planning can be a part of the intention, but for things to come to pass, it doesn't have to go according to plan. All that has to happen is that you have to be connected to the moment, everything that you're doing. Whether you are washing rice, which is a really great thing for this. If you're washing rice, appreciating the water flowing over the rice and the beautiful noise that it might make dripping through, and just being in that moment. There's a quote that I read. I cannot say his name. I'm going to put it in the description. Like Thich Nhat Hanh. I don't remember his name, but it's in the description. He said something that really resonates with this teaching. Is don't clean the teacup. He said, clean the teacup to clean the teacup, not for the cup of tea after. And so enjoy the task that you're doing. Make it a loving moment. And then it doesn't have to be unpleasant. It doesn't have to be an obligation. And there's one more thing that I wanted to mention specifically for the Practicum. I know that a lot of people, it's online, which has never been before. And so a lot of people might feel like, well, there are a lot of distractions in my house, or, hey, I'm a parent, or I have a lot of things to do. I'm also in that boat. And I can say that if you are just if you're focused on the intention, or you have faith that the intention will come to pass, even if you don't focus on what you think you need to be focusing on in order for that to happen, magic happens. Just be present. And I know that this takes a lot of practice. It takes a lot of practice, and it takes a lot of forgiveness not to get mad at yourself for not being in the moment. But I want to remind you that having distractions in your life, distractions are a part of your life. Your 3D life, the physical life that you live in, it's not separate from your spiritual life. It's all happening at the same time. And even though it can be difficult, you don't need certain circumstances to be just so in order to be in the moment sacredly. Like, in order to feel sacredness, you don't have to have like this ritual that that is very like involved and makes a lot of like, it takes a lot of focus. Like those things are really great, and they can feel really good. But that's the point, is the feeling good. Like any moment can be like that. Any moment can feel sacred, and even if it's distracting, it's like if you have other things going on in your life, other distractions and stuff, I like to make an intention, underlying intention in any ritual or ceremony or mindfulness that I am a part of, that this underlying intention of what happens is what happens in a divinely cast way. And I can bring my focus to anything in any moment, for the purpose of it turning out that way. Whether I am, like, according to plan, stirring rice or talking on Zoom, or I have to take a moment and give my kid an applesauce and a hug because something happened. Like, it's just going to happen the way that it happens. And if you're present with the way that it happens, you don't need things to be separate. You don't need life to be compartmentalized in order for it to be spiritual. So as a person with a family and a lot of other activities going on, I do my best to plan, but things don't always go according to plan, and to just roll with it and try to be in the moment no matter what happens. Just set the intention that what you need to pay attention to, you'll pay attention to. And it'll be the right thing to pay attention to. And to create that moment of connectedness, that moment of presence, whether you are stirring food and talking to someone, or you're saying, just a moment, I need to give my kid a hug, and I'll be right back. And I know, like I said, I know that this can be really difficult. It's actually taken me like lots of years of practice to come into this place of mindfulness, and lots of years of forgiving yourself for not being in that moment, and still knowing that, like, I mean, it happens, and just be gentle with yourself and your plan and the people that you're involved with. And I guess that's just the last thing that I wanted to say, is that this can be easy. It can be easy if you just try to connect with the moment and be present. And then you can embody whatever feeling you want that moment to be, and you can make that moment that feeling. Intention. Centeredness, clarity of intention. Checking in, constantly being in a constant state of prayer and presence. And blessing that present moment with whatever it is that your intention is. All right. Thank you. Thanks for listening. And if you're a student at LightSong, I'll see you in a couple of days. And if you're not, thanks for listening. I hope that this was helpful to you.